So as promised, I'm going to talk to you about the sources in the databases where you can find information for your paper. Now, as you've read on Moodle, you are not to use sources from the internet. You are not going to use web pages as sources. So what you're going to use instead are either print resources from Moy Library, or you will have an abundance of articles from databases that you can use, books, articles, and even some primary source documents. So we're going to start on the library website, electronic resources, electronic databases, and let me just show you real quickly the ones that I think will be most helpful to you. NC Live, of course, is a collection of databases. You'll do either an advanced or a simple search. We'll go back and do one of those in just a moment. Those are mostly ProQuest resources. Academic Search Complete, right here, good place to find very academic articles on the topics that you're looking for. This is a single database. You do not have to use peer-reviewed articles for this paper. If you do use peer-reviewed articles, that's great, but I think you could also use some cover stories, for example, in magazines or newspaper articles, or I'm even going to show you how to find some primary source documents. And then, of course, electronic books are fine. So that was Academic Search Complete. Biographical Reference Center. You can go down to the B's, or there's a link for it right here. If you're looking for information about a person's life, some of you are situating your piece of literature in a biographical context, so you need to know about the events of the person's life. So you might find your person there. OmniFile, you can go down to the O's again, or there's a link right here, OmniFile Full Text Mega. Again, that's a single database. You can look for all sorts of information there. Now, if you're looking for purely literary information, you can go to the L's and look in Literary Reference Center Plus. Let me just do one real quickly here. So if I wanted to do my short story title, and if you were looking for information about the story, here is full text, and we got 3. And these are going to be literary criticisms of the story if you're looking for that. Now, you may not be looking for that, so let's see if we up our number, and we do considerably if you don't look for literary criticism. So if I wanted to look for A Rose for Emily and the South, for instance, let's see what comes up with that. It just depends on what you're looking for, so that reduces my number. Family, let's try that. 1. Looks like an interesting article. Let's see what else you might look for there. A Rose for Miss Emily. Let's try Independence. And nothing there. All right, but that's just one database, so you get the idea. All right, another place that you might look is in the E's, and that is either eBooks on EBSCOhost or eBrary. I'm going to go into NC Live and search both of those at one time. That's in NC Live, and I'm going to go down to the middle of the page, ebook. So I'm going to go to the ebook portal, and I'm sure we'll find some books here that will talk about the story. All right, let's try putting it in quotation marks and adding F-A-U-L-K, the author's name. Let's see if that helps narrow that down a little bit. All right. Oh, look, that's interesting. Faulkner in Cultural Context. That's a whole book. Let me open up that book and show you how to do a search within. So if I want to look at the entire book, and there is a link right here called Search Within. And it's going to bring up every page that they discuss A Rose for Emily in this book. So a very quick way to find what's in these any number of books that you look at. So those are the places that I would suggest that you search. Let's go into NC Live and do a quick search. You're doing searches on a lot of different topics. For example, some of you are going to be looking for information about treatment of soldiers in a particular war. Some of you are going to be looking for biographical information about your author because you want to relate the story to the life of the author. So lots of different directions we're going here. But if we're doing a search in NC Live, so let's do a search for Dead Men's Path. Let's just see what we get with that. I want to filter for full text because there are lots of articles in NC Live that are not full text. So I've got 17 articles. The date range, these go back to 1997. That is of no importance whatsoever because with literary articles, it doesn't matter if they've got some age on them. So I can try adding something. Let's try adding cultural and see if anything comes up. Okay, good. So if you were trying to situate this in a cultural context, it looks like we might have some information there that will help. So if you'll just hover over this little arrow, it will bring up, and I want full text, and then hover over this little arrow and it will bring up some information, additional information, sometimes even an abstract if it's a journal article. So that is basically what you're going to do. This EBSCOhost link is relatively new, but you should be able to search multiple EBSCOhost databases from this link. Books, biographies, magazines. Let me show you real quickly Points of View Reference Center. That is such a good database. For some of you, it won't work for all of you on these topics. Points of View Reference Center. So, for example, if you were doing, your topic had something to do with World War I, you'll notice that it's going to give you 7 points of view articles. Newspaper articles, magazine articles, radio, TV, news transcripts, and primary source documents. But if you want to look at this points of view, for example, let's see here. Okay, here's an article, or actually it's a book about chemical weapons are a necessary evil. For those of you who are looking for the treatment of soldiers in World War I, a couple of you are doing poems that have to do with how men were treated, and a short story, how men were treated in World War I, then you may actually find something there that you could use. And not only will it give you that take on chemical weapons, but it will give you the opposite take. Biological and chemical weapons should be banned. Same thing, it will give you magazine articles, newspaper articles, but this database is sort of interesting because it gives you this point of view. It also gives you primary source documents, which are original documents. Here you go, the use of poison gas. Text of an article written during World War I and has to do with Germany using chlorine gas. Anytime that you can use a primary source document instead of something that was written about a primary source document or took its information from a primary source document, using the original is always best. So you might want to take a look at some of those. So that is a quick rundown on where you can find your sources. Remember that you do not need to use any sources off of the internet. You're going to get all your information from library resources. Don't forget that you're going to print out the pages that you take information from and turn those in with a print copy of your paper. Let me mention also the nice thing about using these items from the databases is you've got your cite button. You don't have to do your own citations. We're doing MLA, so there's your MLA citation. You need to double check it just to make sure that everything's correct. That won't take you but a minute. You need to make sure that it has the second line indented and you need to make sure that it is double spaced, and you copy and paste that once you've made any corrections, or copy and paste it and then make any corrections that you need to, and put that in your works cited page. If anybody needs additional information about which sources to use, just let me know and I will be glad to answer those questions. Okay, I hope this helped.